Yo, YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy, Faze. We are back with a video, guys. And today, man, we are talking about what it takes, the road to go pro in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Every pro had their start somewhere. They were all playing pubs. They were all watching a YouTube video. They were all just grinding some Call of Duty for the fun of it until they weren't and started their journey into competitive Call of Duty. So today we're talking about how you go from pub stomper to Call of Duty Pro competing in the Call of Duty League. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go. So again, every pro started somewhere. They started in pub stomping or in trick shotting, sniping, or whatever it was. They started playing Call of Duty and eventually found their way to becoming a pro in one way or another. Every pro has a very different story, considering how many changes the Call of Duty scene has seen over the past, decade or longer. In Black Ops Cold War, there's a new system for how it goes pro, and that's what we're talking about today. So maybe you stumbled upon Scumpy's channel, or Octane, or Apathy, or Attach, or insert pro here, or my channel, or someone else's channel in competitive COD, or maybe you're just like, yo, what's this league play that they're going to add in sometime here, or whatever it is, and you kind of just stumble onto competitive Call of Duty, and you're interested in playing some more competitive COD and pursuing competitive COD. So there's just a lot of steps that you gotta take, a lot of hoops that you have to jump through to go pro in competitive Call of Duty nowadays. So let's go through them. Step one, of course, is finding a team. Maybe you got buddies that you play with and they're a good place to start to learn competitive Call of Duty, or you need to find buddies to play with. And the best places to start is on Twitter and in Discords. And so if you're not familiar with Discord, you gotta get familiar with Discord. In a lot of ways, that's where competitive Call of Duty thrives nowadays, is in Discord servers, finding 8s lobbies, finding scrims, finding players to play with. It's a great place to get connected. So of course you can join my community server. The link is down in the description. You can go check that out. We're doing community tournaments, community leagues, having a good time, doing community 8s lobbies, things like that. So that's a good place to start, and then continually add to your list of servers. And on Twitter, follow people who are connected in the scene. Reach out to people, ask if they have any servers that you can join. Be proactive on Twitter to try to find those connections and make those connections with people to get as many chances to play, practice, and find teammates as possible. So once you find your squad of players, of course, you're trying to iron out your role and figure out how you play individually with that team. And of course, team changes are an inevitable part of being an amateur player. You're gonna join a team, it's not gonna work out, you're gonna try to find another squad. I think that's generally the most effective way to maneuver through the amateur scene, is duoing. You and him approach competitive COD the same way, and then you and him are trying to find another duo to pair with that complements you guys well, and you guys can be a team and dominate the AM scene together. Now you've got your squad. The next step is, how do you get some good practice in that's not like too high stakes? We're not putting too much on the line, but we just got to get our toes wet and figure out competitive Call of Duty and get some good practice in. And there's a handful of ways you can go about that. Of course, in an ideal world, there's a really good ranked playlist that Call of Duty has that allows teams to join up together and grind it out as a team in the ranked playlist. It's a great place to start in most games, and it's been a good place to start in past Call of Duties when we've had ranked play. So hopefully Treyarch pulls through, and by the time you're watching this, there is ranked play in the upcoming few weeks or a few months at least in Black Ops Cold War. But if there isn't ranked play currently, then game battles is your next best bet. And of course, the Discord servers that we've been talking about with playing 8s and finding scrims, low stakes areas to practice, try new things, and get better. On game battles, of course, you make a team on gamebattles.com, you make a team, and then you can just play in the XP ladders. Those aren't for pro points. There's nothing really of weight to those matches besides like a little ranking on gamebattles.com, but that's a good place to also practice things, try out new things, and figure out how you and your team want to play and get some simple practice in. As you get more and more serious, you're getting more and more scrims, hopefully meeting more teams, getting better and better, and finding better and better teams to scrim against as you improve as well. Obviously, you want to cast a pretty wide net and get a lot of experience against a lot of different types of teams and players in. So that's why I would recommend, playing GBs as a squad while also playing 8s and scrimming. You don't want to end up in a bubble scenario where you feel like you're improving a lot, but it's just against this certain group of people. But you just really need to have as much exposure as possible to as many play styles as possible. And game battles is just a good place to start. Once on GBs, when you're really starting to win a significant amount of your games on the XP ladders, you have a significantly positive record on game battles and the XP ladders, then you're in a pretty good spot. These kind of start meshing together where you can start doing all of these at the same time and working your way through. The next natural progression is when you start winning a lot of matches on the XP ladders, you start to go play the Challengers points ladders on game battles. Those give you Challengers points. And again, Challengers points are the heart of amateur Call of Duty. It's how you rank teams. You sort teams in tournaments based off Challengers points. So if you play in the Challengers points ladders and you win a match, you earn challengers points, and those are the same types of points that the top AMs are earning by winning the big tournaments in the AM scene. So you can work your way and start in that way, and that's how you get your toes wet into the amateur scene overall. So as you're playing in challengers points, there's also the 2K tournaments, and what that means is there's pro point tournaments basically every weekend for 2,000 pro points. Eventually they turn into 1K tournaments, but overall the winning team gets 2,000 pro points each. It's an open bracket tournament, a massive amount of teams, usually like 500, 1,000 teams that can enter into these tournaments, and then you work your way up. You generally, the top 64 get paid out in pro points. Hopefully that ends up changing where they pay out a lot more than top 64, and you're earning pro points that way. So while you're playing your weekly pro points ladders matches on game battles and you're earning pro points through the average ladders on game battles, you're also playing the 2Ks, and you start trying to improve in the 2Ks. And those 2Ks get pretty sweaty. You're playing against some really, really good teams, especially if you don't have very many pro points. You're gonna get seeded against some of the really high seeded teams early. So it's important to play the pro point ladders matches to earn as many pro points as possible, so you're not getting matched up against the great teams early, at least giving yourself a chance to move through the tournament just a little bit. So when you really start getting some legitimacies, when you start finishing top 64, especially top 32, especially top 16, in these 2K tournaments early in these years. So you're playing these 2Ks, and again, you've got to start playing these 2Ks immediately when they open up at the beginning of the year. That's very, very important. So make sure you hop into the 2Ks right when they get going in Black Ops Cold War. That's definitely important to try to earn those pro points, have a chance to earn those pro points, get some experience early on. So the 2Ks and 1Ks are always there, but then there's the Challengers Cups. The Challengers Cups are the biggest amateur events of the year outside of the new Elite series they've announced that we're going to talk about a little bit more in a second. The Challengers Cups are the biggest tournaments, the biggest money tournaments, the most pro points, and that's where when you're a top AM, you're looking to win that thing and really solidify yourself in the elite status of the amateur players, having a lot of success in these Challengers Cups. So while you're seeing some success in these 2Ks, these 1Ks, and these Challengers Cups, you're probably also playing some wager tournaments. On CMG's a website where you play a lot of wagers. You can also play money tournaments on game battles. So you're entering with money on the line to get the best practice against the best players with, as much pressure, as much on the line as possible. Really test yourself as an individual and as a team. So when you're really seeing some legitimate success in wagers, in tournaments, in 2Ks, 1Ks, and in the Challengers Cups, at that point, you're definitely up there with the best of the AMs. So this year, there's the Elite Series, where the top 8 teams from the NA and from the EU qualify for their own basically mini series throughout the year. It's solely based off challengers points, which of course you're accumulating over this time in your pro points ladders, your GBs, your 1Ks, your 2Ks, and your challengers cups. So at that point, if you're qualifying for these elite series, you're in the tier of next up to the CDL. And hopefully throughout all this time, you're networking with the pros. You're trying to get into as many 8s lobbies as possible, really leveling up in the 8s lobbies, trying to find better and better players to play with and practice with and compete against time in and time out. It's definitely a grind in the AM scene to try to figure that out, to network and work your way up. And qualifying for the Elite Series is definitely a big deal. So at the end of the day, what does it actually take to be labeled a pro? Obviously that means getting signed to a CDL starting spot. So hopefully you're working your way up, and then eventually you get signed as a substitute for the CDL. You're competing in the challenger scene. You're playing in the Elite Series. You're having a lot of success. You're winning challengers champs. You're doing all the things right to work your way up for the expansion teams next season in the CDL and in the future, to find yourself in the CoD League competing at the highest level. Obviously before Modern Warfare, it was all based on pro points, and the pro teams were still qualified by pro points. But nowadays, of course, you've got to get asked to join a pro team, to join that roster. It's not about how many pro points you have, but it's about what you can bring to that roster and help that team. So at the end of the day, how do you get noticed in the AM scene? It's by winning. It really, really is. But there's obviously a lot of things that help your chances to get signed by a pro team. Of course, that's content, building your brand, being friendly and being friends with the pro players, of course, helps. Getting to know those guys, networking with the pros in any way you can, networking with the Discord servers, on Twitter, through social medias, that can all help your odds of being noticed, of being found, of befriending the pros, and finding your way and working your way up to a pro status. And of course, it's not going to be easy. I mean, there's only now 48 pro players in starting spots. That's insane for how many Call of Duty players there are in the world. Of course, there are less competitive Call of Duty players than there are just Call of Duty players. But in the same time, the top 48 get starting spots. Then there's gonna be like another, 12 to 24 that are substitutes. And then there's the top AMs who are still getting paid in some way, some sort of salary from some of the AM organizations. And then there's a few that are getting paid for their travel to events. And again, once LANs come back, you're competing in as many LANs as possible. And all of that combined works towards you becoming a pro in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So there's a lot that goes into it. And like I said, it's not a simple process. It's a definite grind, and it'll definitely take a few years if you're just starting out now. If you've been playing competitively for a while and you're trying to look for that next step, you really got to practice hard. We have a lot of tips videos on the channel about how to practice, and we're gonna be doing a lot more for Black Ops Cold War, of course, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. And of course, I talk a lot about competitive COD, the CDL, on this channel when it comes to breaking down how pros play, learn from the pros, what they're doing on the map, what they're doing inside the CDL matches, and a lot more. So subscribe if you haven't already to not miss anything. Hit the notification bell, of course, so you don't miss an upload. YouTube's a little bit weird with the notifications nowadays. And I hope to see you in the Discord, in the community, on Twitter, and everywhere, doing your thing, making a name for yourself in the AM scene, building your brand. And the dream is some of you out there go from watching this video to one day being a pro on the main stage in the CDL. Now that would be insane. So as always, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoy it. I really do appreciate the support. Hit the notification bell, of course. YouTube's a little bit weird with the uploads, and sometimes you miss them. So make sure you don't miss it by hitting the notification bell. But as always, guys, I'm your boy Salvation Elite, and we will see you next time. I'm out.